Hello and welcome back to my channel. I've been invited into the home of a local journalist this evening to speak about my history and my experience of Slimming World. So I'd just like to introduce you to Elizabeth.
Hello.
And we're just going to have an informal chat, and I think Elizabeth has a few questions that she would like to ask me.
So Jane, you've been going to Slimming World for, is it almost 2 years now?
It'll be 2 years in May, yeah?
And how much weight have you lost during that time?
Just short of 4 stone.
Gosh.
And that was at the end of my weight loss journey. So in theory it was the hardest 4 stone to lose, but in practice I didn't find it that way with Slimming World.
That's good to hear. So what was it about Slimming World? If you say you've been on a weight loss journey for quite some time, you've probably tried a few diets, as we all have.
Yeah.
What was it about Slimming World that appealed to you over doing something different?
In all honesty, it was the amount of food I could eat. I've always had a big appetite. I love my food. And I knew from past experience with Slimming World that I could go in there and eat probably more than I was eating before I joined and still be able to lose weight. And my biggest fear around weight loss was always being hungry. I don't function well if I'm hungry.
And you didn't find that with the Slimming World diet at all?
No. To be truthful, I probably went back to Slimming World and started to eat too much.
Okay.
Because when you see the diet advertised and you read about the diet, people will say, Slimming World says you can eat as much as you like of certain types of foods with, there's no limits.
Right.
It just, and I actually found that if somebody tells me I can eat, well, I can eat for England. So looking back, initially when I started in May of 2015, I should have taken better control of myself and not got involved in overeating in the way that I did. It took me a little while to realise that if I wanted the weight to come off, I needed to put a cap on my portion sizes. But I think Slimming World allows people to discover that. Because what it says in the book is, eat until you're comfortably full.
Okay.
It doesn't say eat until you're stuffed, which is what I was in the habit of doing. And when I learned to eat until I was comfortably full, then a better weight loss occurred each week.
Mm.
And that in turn was encouraging. And over the 21 months that I've been there, I think my appetite has lessened.
Mm-hmm.
So my portion size has got smaller, and I don't overeat in the same way today that I used to. In fact, I can't overeat in the way that I used to.
So for people that haven't done Slimming World before and know anything about it, how is it split up? So what are the rules of it?
Well, I think basically they would say it's split 1, 2, 3. 1 is free food, and these are the foods that you can consume as much as you like of.
What sort of, have you got examples?
Well, meat, lean meat, poultry, fish, fresh vegetables, frozen vegetables, fruits. Certain fruits are speed foods, which are even lower in calories than the free fruits and free vegetables. And the basic plan is that you fill yourself up on this lower calorie food, which will then be satiating.
Mm-hmm.
So if you focus on the majority of your food every day coming from the free food section and actually choose speed choices, which are the lower calorie foods. So for example, if you were looking at eating fruit, if you chose an apple, a pear and an orange, they're all speed fruits. If you chose blueberries, grapes and pineapple, they're free foods. But if you look at those fruits, the ones that are free are higher in sugar than the ones that are speed.
Right.
So there is a real logic to the plan, and you learn that as you go along. And if you choose the majority of your food from that free food section, you then have 2 choices that are called healthy extras. One of those choices is a dairy choice, which is where you get your calcium from. The second choice is bread, cereals, nuts, etc., which is where you get your fibre from. So you've got your free food, you've got your healthy extra choices, And then the third part of the diet is what they call SYNS, SYNS, which is synergy, puts the diet together. They recommend 5 to 15 SYNS. And if you choose, I think what people tend to call treats from that section, that's how I would have been when I started. I would have chosen chocolate, crisps, things like that. The way my diet plan has evolved, today I make different choices. So today I would choose probably honey or sushi or healthier options, because I've kind of weaned myself off what the things that used to be my trigger foods, which were mainly sweet foods and high fat foods. I have had to wean myself off to get to where I am today and to stay here. So the diet is basically made up of those 3 sections, and it's very, very simple. People say losing weight isn't easy. I don't know that I would always agree with that, but what I would say, this weight loss plan is simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned sugar just briefly when you were talking about the fruit then, and there's a lot in the media about, we must cut out sugar out of our diets because that's what's fueling the obesity crisis, and sort of a lot of people telling us to move away from processed foods. And is that easy to sort of incorporate into Slimming World? Does that factor at all, or have you?
I've actually found that that's come naturally for me.
Okay.
Especially the moving away from processed foods. At home now, we don't buy very much that comes in tins. We would buy tin tuna, baked beans, pulses, things like that. I have this little saying at home, I only buy food that's prepared in a kitchen, I don't buy food that's prepared in a laboratory. So for me, and in very simple terms, that means if it's dried and it comes in a packet, I think about it twice. Because a lot of these foods are full of hidden sugars. I know in America at the moment, the Drugs Administration people there are recommending that we shouldn't be taking on board more than 50 grams of sugar a day. The healthcare professionals in this country think that's too high, and to be genuinely healthy we shouldn't be taking on board more than 25 grams of sugar a day.
Okay.
And if you start to read the sugar content in a lot of foods, that's not a huge amount of sugar compared to what we're used to having. And I guess I have like my own pet desires, and I am very much, well, I used to be absolutely addicted to sugar. And I have, over the time I've been with Slimming World, had to wean myself off it. And for me, the best way to wean myself off was to just stop. And when, excuse me, when I first came to Slimming World, I was at least a 2 heaped teaspoons of sugar person in my coffee. And often with powdered creamer as well, which is full of sugar. What I learnt over the time that, for me, reducing it just didn't work. Because whenever I was feeding the sugar habit was a craving that I had. So I suppose you'd call it going cold turkey. Eventually I just said, just for today I'm not going to have this.
Okay.
And that's been really good for me, because while I weaned myself off putting sugar in drinks and I stopped drinking fruit juices and squashes and all those things, I then automatically, very naturally stopped eating biscuits and stopped. I mean, I'll have a piece of cake occasionally. I would have something like that. I was going to use the word treat, but it's not a treat. If it fell naturally into my diet, I would have one of something. But I don't battle the desire to eat a packet of biscuits anymore. I don't battle the desire to eat processed food anymore, because the further I've moved away from it, the cravings have naturally disappeared.
I think that's something probably people struggle with the most, that craving and trying to break that addiction.
Well, often on my channel, Elizabeth, I've said things like, let me relate this back to when I was a smoker. And when I was a smoker, and it's only 2.5 years since I stopped, I was at least a 20-a-day Marlboro girl, strong Marlboro, not Marlboro Light. And the only way I could stop smoking was by stubbing out that last cigarette and saying no more. You know, I tried the vaping or whatever it's called. I tried only having 6 cigarettes a day. They didn't work for me because the substance was still there. It was still in my blood, it was still in my body, and whatever nicotine or even sugar was still strongly in my system, then my system always cried out for more.
Yeah.
Once I removed that, and then, okay, for the first 2 or 3 days, you think, I can't do this. You know, I suppose you do get that withdrawal.
Yeah.
I must admit, giving up smoking was probably easier than giving up sugar. But now I'm glad I've done it, because I don't have a problem with sugar anymore. And when I look back to the person I used to be, I realised that, you know, sugar had an awful lot of power in my life. Now I've eliminated it, I actually can taste my food so much better. And again, I think a lot of that is down to smoking, isn't it? And stopping smoking automatically began to taste food very differently. But now, if I accidentally pick up the wrong cup of coffee that's got sugar in it, I can't drink it. And that's been
Life-changing.
absolutely life-changing, yeah.
So that's the sort of the diet plan, and then obviously you go to regular meetings, weekly meetings.
I go to a group on a Saturday morning.
To a group meeting. So, for someone that might be sort of thinking of joining, thinking, okay, I'd like to get involved in this, how intimidating is it going to that group and potentially being judged on your old habits or kind of what you've eaten each week?
I think the more you think about it, the more intimidating you could believe it would be. But actually, we're never judged in the group. I find that's the beauty of the group I go to, especially, and I'm sure they're all run on similar principles. We don't talk about what we used to do. We only talk about what the plan advises us to do now. So you're not expected to sit there and confess your sins. It's really quite freeing from that. You are never asked to divulge your weight in a group.
Okay.
So when you get weighed, you actually are in quite a private situation. You're not overlooked. Nobody sees your weight but you and the lady who's actually weighing you. And I think she would be in big trouble if she announced it. And if you choose not to, you don't even have to write it in your book. You can write your weight losses or your weight gains in your book every week, but you don't actually have to put a total. Some people are very private about things like that and wouldn't necessarily even want their partner to be able to pick up the book and read it. That's up to you. Nobody forces you to publicise what you weigh. Because the groups are predominantly ladies, I think it's possibly more intimidating for a guy to join.
Okay. Yeah.
But if you're a guy under 60, there's often a lot of women in that room who want to mother you. And also, I would say, if you are feeling intimidated and you don't actually want to walk into that room on your own, because it's a big step for most of us, speak to your consultant beforehand. You'll always pick up the mobile number of a consultant from Slimming World and say, this is exactly how I'm feeling. You know, I feel intimidated. I don't want to walk in there and be standing there like Billy No Mates. And your consultant will arrange for somebody to meet and greet you.
Okay.
And they'll introduce you to people. And then if you are isolated, it's because you choose to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you find that group situation has helped your weight loss journey?
For me, it's quite different because I never can't look round the room and judge, am I the biggest person in this room, am I the whatever. I still in my head think I'm the biggest person in the room, even though I'm not these days, obviously not. But I don't know if I'll ever lose that. But the group situation, the friendship that has come out of going to group, the laughter, and we don't laugh at each other, but there's always something, you know, friendly and funny and stories and things, and what they call image therapy, which stands for individual motivation and group experience, I find invaluable because so often people will share something and you think, I understand where you're coming from, or I used to feel like that. And then there are occasions when, you know, you can actually help somebody else because of your experience. Like last week in our group, we had a lady and it was only her second week, and she was a little bit confused about which fruit was speed fruit, which fruit wasn't. And so Naomi, my group leader, just picked on a couple of us who were at Target and said, can you each list me 4 fruits that aren't speed? And because we know our plan, we could. And this lady just sat there and she went, oh, I see the difference now. You're showing me, these are the high sugar fruits, these are the lower sugar fruits. And just something as simple as that, it's a light bulb experience for somebody. And I think staying for group is crucial. Because if people said to me, what do you think, or what could you share with me that you think are the most valuable things about Slimming World, I would say stick to plan 100%. And for me, that's how I've got to where I am, and that's how I'm maintaining this weight loss. I'm not an extreme person. I'm not holier than thou or goody two-shoes. But I know after 40 years of trying to lose weight that the only way I've got to where I am is by sticking to plan 100%. And also stay to group. Because if you're going to pay £4.95 to just walk in there, get on the scales and either feel elated or totally depressed, what are you getting out of the group experience? And I know some people will say, I don't have time to stay. Well, my answer to that would be then do the online version. Because if you're only walking in and getting weighed, you're not getting anything from the group experience or the group dynamic. You might as well be doing this on your computer at home.
What would you say has been sort of the biggest challenge for you over the last couple of years?
Coping with things like binge eating, emotional eating, stress. Because for many years I was bulimic, and I've dealt with that during my weight loss journey until now. I would say I'm in recovery from bulimia. But emotional eating, binge eating, stress eating, which I hear people mention all the time, is one of the reasons why they're overweight. And I know for me, these were massive reasons. Having to actually face those things head on in my own life and make different choices. And I would say that today I don't eat for emotional reasons. I don't eat for stress. I don't binge eat anymore. But it's because I've actually examined my life and I've said to myself, come on, Jane. My best friend always used to say to me, I've talked about my best friend before on my channel, he died a couple of years ago, and he always used to say to me, come on, Jane, get a grip. And I used to think, sod off, what do you know about any of this? You've never had a weight problem in your life. But I wish I could say to him today, I know exactly what you mean. The choice was always mine. I could choose to say yes, I could choose to say no. Every one of these actions begins with a thought. And today, I changed that thought. And, I've got some stressful stuff going off in my life at the moment, but would eating over it change it? It would just make me feel crap. It would make me feel guilty. And I think now I've got control. And when I can't control anything else in my life, because, let's be blunt, shit happens, doesn't it? Excuse my language, Elizabeth. But when things like that happen to me, I always had handy excuses to eat. Today, when things like that happen to me, and I've got no control over them at all, the one thing I have got control over is my food. I've made a decision that I eat 3 wholesome, hearty, healthy meals a day, and possibly 1 snack in between if I need it because I'm going walking. And when everything else around me is falling down around my ears or going up in flames, I can still eat 3 wholesome, hearty, healthy meals a day. Nobody can stop me doing that, only me. And I think that's why it works for me today, because I cannot cope with being hungry. And I'm beyond using excuses for eating rubbish now. I've got a little bit more love for myself. I actually like myself today. I did not like myself when I weighed 22 stone. And today I'm comfortable. I was going to say I'm more confident. I've always been confident. I've never had a problem with confidence. I am more comfortable in my own skin today, and I think that comes across.
Yeah.
I've never had a problem sticking up for myself and
No.
all that kind of thing. But I always wished I was in a different body. Or I always thought there was a thinner version of me under all these layers of blubber. And I feel like I feel like today, you know, I've like ripped off that fat suit and I'm out there and this is me. Like me or not, this is me. And I have to thank Slimming World for that. And my own persistence with it, because one of the things, if I was being totally frank, that I would like to get across today to people is, it's a saying I've often heard in 12-step meetings, and it's half measures availed me nothing. And that's all I ever used to take, half measures. And then I used to get fed up because I didn't lose weight, or fed up because I had an unexpected gain, and then I'd quit.
Yeah.
But it was always my doing. I was self-sabotaging all the time. And I know today that if I want this, then I have to do the plan. It's written down there, it's prescribed, just follow the plan. You can't fail. But it's when you're hopping off it, coming back, trying to catch up. I did that for too many years. I made it very hard for myself. And today I just choose to follow the plan, and it doesn't stop me having a social life. You know, I can still eat out, and I eat better than I've ever eaten in my life.
Yeah. So the diet works, but you have to give it 100% if you're going to see the changes.
Yeah. I mean, what I always say at the end of my videos is, it works if you work it. It won't if you don't. So if I wanted to say, go to group on Saturday morning and, well, have a £0.5 weight loss or a £1 weight loss or whatever I needed that week, I know how to control that now. But if I want to go to group on a Saturday morning and then spend Saturday afternoon stuffing my face with chocolate and cream cakes, I'm not doing myself any favours. And then again, I'd be feeding the old sugar habit, and then I've got to overcome that again, Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
And then I'd be standing in the queue on Saturday morning thinking, oh my God, have I done enough? I like to go there on Saturday morning, stand in the queue and not even think about it. And then just get on the scales and get whatever I deserve.
And have you continually lost or maintained or throughout your journey with Slimming World, or have you had unhappy experiences at the scales, let's say?
I think everybody has unhappy experiences at the scale. Well, we're women, we run on hormones, don't we? And especially you younger women, it's not so bad when you've gone through the menopause, I don't think. But everybody gets unexpected gains. You just have to take it on the chin and move on. And it's not easy, because of course then emotions get involved. And once emotions get involved, then if we're still in that frame of mind, we'll eat over it. And I think you just have to say, I'm worth more than this. I mean, I believe through my weight loss journey, which was about 7.5 months to actually lose the weight, I think I possibly had 3 gains. One was unexpected, but it was when I actually weighed in at a different group, and I think sometimes the scales have a lot to answer for. But I'm at the stage in my journey now where I feel like I've got this little knob and I can turn it up or turn it down to control what I need to do. Like last Saturday I had to gain a £1 because the Saturday before I had cut back on my healthy extras like too far, because I'd reduced my walking and I thought I'd got the balance, but I went a bit too far and lost weight. So this week I had to gain a £1, but I knew just how much to tweak that control knob without going off plan to get me that £1 gain. And like this week, my motivation is to get a maintain. So I've reduced my walking to my base level of about 35 miles. And my food's bang on plan, and I'm not at all worried about standing in that queue on Saturday morning. What will be, will be.
Good. Wow. Shall we leave it there? That's a nice way to end.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Very inspirational journey, I think. I think it would give a lot of people something to aim for.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So there we go. Lovely opportunity for me this evening, and hope you find something interesting in that. But remember, it works if you work it, it won't if you don't. Thanks.